Sitting still has always felt unnatural to me, like a restless child sent to time out, itching to break free. That's how I felt in 2011. It was a warm summer in Pittsburgh, and while everyone else seemed to be slowing down for the holiday weekend, I was speeding up, headed home, my mind tangled with work deadlines, meetings, relationship woes. You know the feeling, right? Where everything kind of blurs together. And then all of a sudden, it was like time warped. Everything slowed. The yellow line, the gravel under my tires, the guardrail coming closer into view. A helpful stranger coming in and out of focus as I blinked my eyes, and a voice telling my mom what happened. The ringing in my ears intermixed with the ring of my cell phone. Then everything went black. Life had hit the brakes for me. The year of the crash, I had a bucket list of plans, like kicking back, taking in a little adventure, all to celebrate a milestone, turning 30. But the concussion from the crash and a totaled car shelved all of that. That crash, it was a wake-up call. Life demonstrated how we're too often caught up in the hustle to feel the preciousness of every single moment. It was a wake-up call about the fragility of life, a profound reminder of the importance of being truly present. But what if there's another path? What if we can find profound joy in doing less? In those moments where life shines brighter. Some people call this JOMO, the joy of missing out. Imagine joy as sunlight pouring through a quiet morning, lifting our hearts like a bird in flight, or watching a child take their first steps. It's more than just a fleeting emotion. It's a moment of deep connection. It creates the feel of a deeper connection and opportunity for us all. Can you feel it? In the moment, in the silence? When we embrace joy, we embrace the stillness of it all. The stillness of life, and those moments when we stop, breathe, and take in the world around us. What if we did this at work? In Renisha Bing's article, Failure is Not an Option, the pressure Black women face to be on. The article discusses the pressure Black women feel professionally and personally due to societal disclaimers, distractions, and also pressures. 54% of women, studies show, in many cases, feel like they are the only one in personal and work spaces, or one of few Black women in leadership. This hits home for me as one of the only or few Black women in leadership roles that I occupy. I oftentimes feel like I carry the mantle of representation for an entire community. And guess what? It's a heavy one. So how do we embrace JOMO, or the joy of missing out, under these conditions or others? Well, first, let's talk about work. I support large employer groups for a living, and we focus on creating cultures of inclusion and well-being. Essentially, I want you to imagine the role that you play. Many of us are a part of a workplace, right? Some of us are leaders on a team. What if I told you that you could play a central role in creating these conditions? How many of us like going above and beyond? Giving it 110%? Great. But what if we strive for excellence, but not perfection? Excellence is doing our best, but within practical limits. It's giving high quality without chasing flawlessness. Take this TED Talk, for example. Could I have spent an extra 20 hours refining it? Would it have been that much better? Probably not. There comes a time when we have to realize when our work, our best, is good enough. Society, many times, pushes us, women and me, as a Black female executive, towards an ideal of Superwoman. Always strong, always resilient, always available, which is unreasonable and unsustainable. We can't feed into these pressures. Superwoman is unrealistic. We have to show up in the spaces, not only as our authentic selves, but our peaceful selves, our whole selves. This Superwoman is a myth. What if I told you that there are a few things that you can do to combat this fear of missing out, the opposite of JOMO? How many of us have been to the meeting that turns into drinks, that turns into dinner, right? That's over then at 9 p.m.? It's too much. It's just not necessary. I still attend events, but I no longer accept lingering commitments. I show up, show my support, and then I step away. And for folks that are frustrated with my newfound boundaries, I just shrug it off, because I know that they're upset because they benefited from when I had none. And by the way, no is a complete sentence, period. When we embrace these ideals, we live a life that is fuller and filled with balance. Speaking of balance, I've just returned from taking a sabbatical, a deliberate pause in what I once considered the pinnacle of my career, a breath in the middle of a wild adventure. And you know what I've realized? It wasn't about what I could do or what I was missing out on. It was about reconnecting with someone new, someone sincere, someone complex, someone that is worth it, profoundly worth it. Me. I am worth the time, and no one has a say in that anymore. I also really love being back in the driver's seat of my own life. When we decide to embrace the joy of our lives, when we push back against this constant need for busyness, we recognize that the stillness is what gives us peace. Now, I know there are some of you in here that might think that an exponential practice of JOMO might not be in the cards for you. I challenge you to reconsider. And I invite you to join me in this place of joy. And it just requires a simple action. An impactful outcome is on the other end. Now, don't worry, I'm not handing out homework or anything. I'm asking you to invest in your personal time, set meaningful boundaries, and engage in activities that truly make life worthwhile. And if you agree, I invite you to just softly whisper yes. 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 This verbal acknowledgement, it's a celebration. It's also confirmation of our collective decision to choose depth over distraction. When we choose to focus on our well-being and authenticity, it's a bold act of self-love, a rebellion against the cult of productivity. Our choices, our words, and our actions shape not just our lives, but they have the ability to shape that of our entire culture. Thank you.